Welcome to Through a Glass Darkly Radio. You're listening to us on United Public Radio. The intro song that you just heard is Mark of the Doomslayer by Carl Casey at White Bat Audio. Welcome back, everyone. Good to see you. If you're in the U.S., hopefully you had a tremendous Turkey Day, and hopefully you had a decent Good Friday. I had a great productive Thanksgiving. Good Friday, Black Friday, as we call it in the States, was not as good. I tried to buy some financial software, and it was an utter catastrophe. It took me about a day to ask for a refund because the software would not allow you to do a full reset because I effed up so many things setting it up. So maybe I'll try it again tomorrow. But until then, I got to do this thing. So, few notes. If you are a subscriber, please, or at least you think you are, double check. Make sure Google or YouTube did not unsubscribe you. YouTube claims it never does that, but it does that very frequently. So I've had at least 5 documented cases where that's happened to people. So please do that. If you have watched these shows a lot and you have not subscribed, I kindly would beseech you to do so. If you're a new subscriber, welcome. This is a wide open tent, and thank you for the honor. All right, another thing that I need to say because I'm all about truth and to be open and honest. These radio episodes and these radio episodes, I come up with an idea and then I generate a script using AI, and then I review it. If I don't like it, I have it start over and all that stuff. But this is the only piece of content that I don't write myself. If you don't agree with that, totally understand. Please, you can leave. Feel free to leave. But also, my interviews and stuff like that are not done that way. So, please don't go away entirely. That said, if you have never come here before and you don't like this, you don't have to stay. But don't comment on it. Don't be an asshole. Okay. Because all I'm going to do is just send you to the void, and you'll see your comment, but nobody else will. I'm very clear about this. I don't hide behind it. I don't lie about it. I'm being, super honest. If you don't like it, totally understand. I would never buy a book written by somebody using AI. I've read my own books myself, but for something like this, where I just don't have a lot of time during the week to, put even more effort than I already do, then it's just the best way for me to do it. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's see. Look at comments. Hey, I can't even read that. Who happened now? Okay. Good evening. What happened now? Anyway, all right. I'm going to get started because I've already burned up maybe 5 minutes on this portion. So hope you all had a happy Turkey Day, and let's get started. Ancient advanced civilizations on Earth, assessing the Silurian hypothesis. Oops. Oh, Kurt W75. It says great to see you, Sean. Hope you're doing well. I am, Kurt. Thank you very much. And Thomas Donovan Jr. Hello, my friend. Good to see you. All right. Sorry for the minor digression. Let's get started. So, could an advanced civilization have arisen on Earth long before humans evolved, only to vanish without an obvious trace? This question, long confined to science fiction and speculation, has recently been examined with scientific rigor under what is called the Silurian hypothesis. The term comes from a fanciful reference to the reptilian Silurians in the British TV series Doctor Who, intelligent beings who supposedly ruled the Earth before humans. In reality, the Silurian hypothesis refers to a 2018 thought experiment by astrophysicist Adam Frank and climate scientist Gavin Schmidt, who asked whether it would be possible to detect evidence of an industrial civilization in Earth's deep past millions of years before Homo sapiens. This inquiry forces us to grapple with the vast scales of geological time and the resilience or fragility of the planetary record. Earth is about 4.5 billion years old, and complex life on land has existed for roughly 400 million years. Human industry, by contrast, is only a few centuries old. It is humbling to consider that other industrial civilizations could conceivably have risen and fallen in epochs so distant that almost no direct trace remains. In this podcast, we will explore arguments for and against the possibility that advanced and technologically capable civilizations might have existed on Earth long before humans. Using the Silurian hypothesis as a guiding framework, we will examine what kinds of evidence such a civilization might leave behind in the geological and fossil records, and why such evidence is extraordinarily difficult to find after millions of years. We will discuss known geological events and anomalies such as sudden climate shifts and unusual geochemical signals that might resemble the footprint of an industrial society. The limits of fossilization and geochemistry will be addressed to understand how much of Earth's past is effectively hidden from us. We will also consider the evolutionary context. How likely is it that intelligence and industry arose more than once? Finally, we'll connect these ideas to broader questions in planetary science and the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, reflecting on how thinking about a prior earthly civilization can inform our approach to finding life or technology elsewhere in the cosmos. The goal is not to argue that such a pre-human civilization did exist. The default scientific view is that it almost certainly did not, but rather to assess why it is so challenging to rule it out conclusively, and what that means for our understanding of Earth and other planets. All right, let's go a little bit deeper into the Silurian hypothesis, a thought experiment. The Silurian hypothesis was formally introduced by Schmidt and Frank in a 2018 research article in the International Journal of Astrobiology. Frank and Schmidt imagined an advanced civilization arising in Earth's distant past and asked, if it had existed, how would we know? What evidence? Hold on. Just give me a second, everyone. All right, sorry about that. All right, so what evidence would it leave in the present day geological record? Would we be able to distinguish the evidence from natural processes? They dubbed the idea the Silurian hypothesis in tribute to the fictional pre-human species of Doctor Who, though in the show, the Silurians lived hundreds of millions of years ago during a period, the Silurian period, that actually predates complex land animals. In reality, any pre-human civilization would have to post-date the emergence of complex life. Frank and Schmidt point out that since roughly the Carboniferous period, approximately 350 million years ago, Earth has contained abundant fossil fuels, coal, oil, etc., that an industrial species could have utilized. In principle, then, at any time in the last few 100 million years that a species evolved intelligence and societal complexity, it could have harnessed energy sources to kickstart an industrial age comparable to our own. It is important to note that Frank and Schmidt themselves are skeptical that any such civilization actually existed. We strongly doubt that any previous industrial civilization existed before our own. They wrote, prefacing their study. Astrophysicist Adam Frank has likewise stated, I don't believe an industrial civilization existed on Earth before our own. I don't think there was a dinosaur civilization or a giant tree sloth civilization. In other words, the Silurian hypothesis is not a claim that advanced precursors did happen, but a thought experiment to clarify how we would recognize or miss the signs if they had happened. As Gavin Schmidt explained, the point of science is to ask such questions and see where it leads. By articulating what evidence of an ancient technological species might look like, we can better understand both the robustness of our geologic record and the signatures of our own civilization will eventually leave behind. To frame the problem, Frank and Schmidt compared the hypothetical ancient civilization's impact to the known impact of our modern civilization, the current geological epoch often termed the Anthropocene. The Anthropocene concept encapsulates the idea that human activity in just the past century or two has become a global geophysical force, leaving stratigraphic signals in sediments, ice, and rock. If we project millions of years into the future, what will the Anthropocene look like in Earth's strata? And have any similar signals occurred before? These questions form the core of the Silurian thought experiment. By examining Earth's sediments for anomalies analogous to an Anthropocene layer, scientists might detect a prior episode of industry. Conversely, if no such anomalies exist beyond known natural ones, that would bolster the assumption that we are the first industrial species on this planet. Now let's look at the geological and fossil records, the limits of preservation. One key reason a previous civilization could be hard to detect lies in the severe limits of preservation over geologic timescales. Earth's surface is constantly reshaped by erosion, sedimentation, and plate tectonics. Over tens of millions of years, continental drift and collide, mountains rise and wear down, continents drift and collide, mountains rise and wear down, sea levels change, and the very crust is recycled. As a result, direct evidence of a civilization, its cities, tools, machines, or physical structures, would likely be destroyed or buried far beyond recognition given enough time. Frank and Schmidt note that essentially no exposed surface on Earth is older than the Quaternary period, which is about 2.6 million years old. The oldest extensive stretch of untouched land surface that researchers have identified, as of Frank's writing, is in Israel's Negev desert and is only about 1.8 million years old. Any built structures or artifacts on surfaces older than a few million years have either been eradicated or now lie deep below newer layers. To put it simply, if we roll the clock back beyond the Quaternary, everything has been turned over and crushed to dust by Earth's geological activity. The ocean's floor is even less forgiving. Due to plate tectonics, oceanic crust is continuously created at mid-ocean ridges and destroyed in subduction zones. The oldest ocean floor is on the order of 200 million years old, and most is far younger. So if a coastal or seafaring civilization had existed in the distant past, any remnants on the seafloor would have long since been subducted into Earth's mantle or transformed by geological processes. Continental interiors can preserve rocks much older, billions of years old creations exist. But even there, surfaces are weathered and reworked. Any ancient cities or factories would likely not survive intact erosion for tens of millions of years. unless quickly buried. Even being buried is no guarantee. Buried artifacts could be metamorphosed by heat and pressure or dissolved by groundwater over geologic time. The fossil record offers another route to detect past life, but it is too frustratingly incomplete and biased. Fossilization requires extremely specific conditions: quick burial in sediment, the presence of hard parts like bones or shells, and the avoidance of decay and scavenging. The vast majority of organisms that ever lived left no fossils at all. The fraction of life that gets fossilized is always extremely small, as Frank and Schmidt emphasize. For example, of all the countless dinosaurs that roamed the Earth for 165 million years, only a few thousand near-complete skeletons have been recovered by paleontologists. Entire species, especially small mountain-dwelling or forest species, could easily come and go without leaving a single known fossil. The human species itself is a case in point. The oldest Homo sapiens fossils are around 300,000 years old, and if humanity were to disappear, it is not guaranteed that clear fossils of us would persist long enough to be discovered 10 or 20 million years in the future. Early hominids from a few million years ago have left some fossils, but as we go further back, the record grows sparse. Now consider an advanced civilization that might last only a relatively brief time. Say it rose and fell within 100,000 years, far longer than our industrial era so far, yet short by geological standards. It would be very easy to miss such a civilization in the fossil record. If the intelligent species was not widespread across the globe, or its population numbers were modest, the chances of preserving fossilized remains of their bodies are low. Even if a few fossils survived, paleontologists in the future would have to recognize them as something extraordinary, not just another ape or reptile bone. Without associated artifacts, a smart dinosaur or mammal might appear as just an unusual specimen. To date, no fossils of any pre-human creature have been found that suggest anatomically the capabilities for building advanced technology. For instance, fossils of animals with large brain cases, dexterous hands, and evidence of tool use. The absence of such fossils is often cited as strong evidence that no prior technologically advanced species existed. However, the counterpoint is that the fossil record could easily fail to sample a short-lived, localized, intelligent species, especially if that species did not exist recently or was not widespread. As one commentator quipped, it would be possible for paleontologists to miss an industrial civilization that lasted only 100,000 years when scanning hundreds of millions of years of rock. Beyond body fossils, what about artifacts, say tools, machines, or buildings left behind? Over a span of millions of years, most artifacts made of metal or organic material would degrade. Iron rusts away, wood rots, even plastics can break down, albeit more slowly. Only the most durable materials might persist, things like stone, ceramics, perhaps some plastics in inert environments, or radioactive materials with long half-lives. But finding, for example, a fragment of plastic or a shard of concrete from 50 million years ago would be incredibly difficult. Such objects would likely be buried in sediment and perhaps chemically altered. Moreover, unless we had some prior suspicion, we might not distinguish a small industrial artifact from natural mineral deposits when scanning cores of rock. Frank gives the example that even relatively recent human artifacts can be missed. The 2,100-year-old Antikythera mechanism, an intricate Greek astronomical computer, was discovered by chance and was completely unknown to historians before its recovery. If human technology was just two millennia ago can escape notice, how much more so something from 200 million years ago? In summary, the geological and fossil records impose a brutal filter on evidence of past civilizations. Frank and Schmidt conclude that direct physical traces of an industrial society, its cities, tools, or even fossils of its people, are exceedingly unlikely to survive on the accessible surface after more than a few million years. After a span of approximately 4 to 5 million years, even large-scale structures would be ground down or buried beyond recognition. Thus, if we are to find any hint of a very ancient advanced civilization, it will probably have to be through indirect evidence rather than obvious ruins. After a few million years, any physical reminder of your civilization may be gone, Adam Frank notes. So you have to look for sedimentary anomalies, things like different chemical balances that just look wacky. This insight shifts the search from archaeology in the traditional sense to a kind of geochemical detective hunt. Which leads to the next question. What are potential geological signatures of an ancient civilization? If a pre-human industrial civilization did exist, what subtle fingerprints might it have left in the geologic record? The Silurian hypothesis paper and subsequent discussions outline several markers that researchers might look for. These markers are large geochemical or sedimentological. That is, unusual chemical compositions or isotopic ratios in rocks and sediments, or abrupt changes in fossil assemblages, which could hint at an unnatural cause. Importantly, many of these signals are exactly those that our own civilization is currently imprinting on the planet during the Anthropocene. By examining what we are leaving behind, we can infer what a previous civilization might have left. Here are some of the major potential signatures. The first is carbon isotope anomalies. Industrial activity, especially burning of fossil fuels, alters the balance of carbon isotopes in the environment. Plants preferentially take up the lighter carbon-12 isotope, so fossil fuels derived from ancient plants are depleted in carbon-13. When we burn billions of tons of fossil carbon, we release a flood of carbon-12 rich CO2, which is detectable as a decrease in the ratio of carbon-13 to carbon-12 in atmospheric CO2, and eventually in carbonate sediments. The carbon isotope shift, known as the Seuss effect, I guess spelled like Dr. Seuss, is a clear signature of industrial fossil fuel use. Any past civilization that combusted large amounts of coal or oil would likely cause a similar carbon-13 depletion spike in geological materials of that age. For instance, our current Anthropocene layer will be characterized by a sharp negative delta C13 excursion, which is a drop in carbon-13 relative to carbon-12, coinciding with the onset of industrialization. If geologists in the future find sediment cores with an abrupt carbon isotopic shift that cannot be explained by known natural processes, it might raise eyebrows as a potential industrial signature. The second sign is climate change and oxygen isotopes. Along with carbon, oxygen isotopic ratios in things like fossil shells can record temperature changes. A rapid warming, as is occurring now, can be inferred from shifts in oxygen 18 to oxygen 16 ratios in carbonates and ice. If an ancient civilization triggered global warming via greenhouse gas emissions, one might see a sudden warm spike in paleo temperature proxies. Our Anthropocene might be recorded as a geologically instantaneous warming event. The Paleocene Eocene thermal maximum, the PETM, 56 million years ago, is an example of a rapid warming event, evident in both carbon and oxygen isotopic data. We will later discuss what the PETM could be mistaken, or whether the PETM could be mistaken for an industrial signal, or if it was purely natural. For now, the point is that unusual climate fluctuations, especially if very rapid, could be a clue. Any ancient civilization's rise and fall might coincide with a climate perturbation, warming from industry or cooling if they triggered feedbacks or nuclear winter scenarios. The third element is mass extinction or biotic turnover. Our current civilization is causing a pronounced biodiversity crisis, often termed the sixth mass extinction. In the rock record, mass extinctions show up as sudden losses of many fossil species at a boundary layer. A technologically advanced society might drive extinctions through habitat destruction, climate change, pollution, or hunting. The end of the dinosaurs, which is approximately 65 million years ago, was a mass extinction caused by an asteroid and volcanism, clearly natural causes. But a speculative advanced species in the past might have caused a more selective extinction event. If paleontologists found a rapid die-off of many species in concert with other anomalies like those listed above, that combination might suggest an artificial cause. In the Anthropocene, we expect future strata will show an unusual dominance of certain domesticated species. Chicken bones, for example, may be a common fossil given the billions of poultry we raise, and the disappearance of many wild species that went extinct. Such a faunal turnover pattern could be a marker of an industrial age. Of course, extinctions also happen from natural causes, so this is only one piece of the puzzle. The fourth piece is the presence of synthetic chemicals and plastics. One hallmark of human civilization is the production of synthetic molecules unknown in nature. For example, we have created persistent organic pollutants like PCBs, which are polychlorinated biphenyls, and chlorofluorocarbons, CFCs, as well as countless other complex chemicals. Many of these compounds do not break down easily. PCBs can persist for centuries in sediments, and some plastic polymers might survive as microparticles for tens of thousands to millions of years in the right conditions. Since the mid-20th century, humanity has flooded the oceans and landfills with plastics. Already, tiny plastic particles, microplastics, are found virtually everywhere, from deep ocean sediments to Arctic ice. Over geologic time, these could form a distinct layer to be preserved in sedimentary rock as a thin stratum enriched in plastic carbon compounds. Future geologists may refer to a plasticine layer within the Anthropocene. If we suspect a past civilization, finding a sediment layer with unusual organic polymer residues or non-naturally occurring chemical compounds like complex plastics or odd polymerized molecules would be compelling evidence. Even if the polymers themselves have broken down, they might leave behind unique molecules or perhaps even identifiable shapes. Some plastics form aggregations called plastiglomerates, fused with rock and shell, which could be preserved. Additionally, synthetic steroids and pharmaceuticals introduced by humans have become pervasive and might be detectable in sediments for millions of years. The key is that these substances do not occur naturally. If we found, say, a deposit of halogenated organic compound from 100 million years ago that matches no natural source, it would strongly indicate an artificial origin. One interesting idea raised by Schmidt and Frank is to look at molecular chirality. Life naturally produces molecules of specific handedness, left-handed amino acids, right-handed sugars, whereas synthetic chemistry often yields racemic, mixed-handed mixtures. Detection of certain organic molecules with racemic mixtures in an ancient sediment could hint they were synthetic in origin, not produced by ancient biology. Then there are nitrogen anomalies, in other words, fertilizer use. A subtle but telling sign of our civilization is the large-scale fixation of nitrogen for use in fertilizers via the Haber-Bosch process. We have doubled the natural rate of converting inert atmospheric nitrogen, or N2, into reactive nitrogen compounds for agriculture. This process leaves a signal. For instance, increased concentrations of nitrogen and a specific isotopic signature in soils and sediments distant from farming areas have been observed. If a prior civilization produced large-scale farming or industrial fertilizer production, one might see a spike in nitrogen-bearing compounds or an anomalous ratio of nitrogen isotopes from nitrogen 15 to nitrogen 14 in sediments of that age. Already, scientists have noted that recent sediments show a marked increase in nitrogen compounds even in remote environments, attributable to human fertilizer use. An ancient analog could be detectable if one looked at, say, the nitrogen content in sediment cores around a specific period and found a sudden globally synchronous jump. Then there are metals and rare earth elements. Human industry has mined and distributed various metals far and wide. Lead pollution, for example, spiked in the mid-20th century due to leaded gasoline, and traces of that peak are found in ice cores and lake sediments globally. We have also redistributed rare earth elements used in electronics and other metals into the environment. While metals can have natural sources like volcanoes, meteoric dust, etc., unusual concentrations of certain metals at a geologic boundary could be indicative of industrial activity. In examining the PETM and other events, scientists have indeed found spikes in elements like zinc, chromium, vanadium, and others. In our case, one might expect heightened levels of heavy metals like lead, mercury, or platinum group elements in the Anthropocene layer due to pollution and industry. Another potential marker is fly ash or spherical carbonaceous particles from extensive coal burning. Such particles, which result from high temperature combustion, have been found in recent sediments as an unambiguous sign of industrial fossil fuel use. If we were to find similar fly ash spheres in, say, a 50 million year old rock layer, it would be astonishing. No natural wildfires produce the concentrated spherical ash that coal power plants do. To date, no such ancient fly ash has ever been reported. Then there are long-lived radioactive isotopes. The detonation of nuclear weapons and operation of nuclear reactors by our civilization have introduced trace amounts of certain radioactive isotopes into the environment. Most fallout isotopes like cesium-137 or strontium-90 from 20th century bomb tests have half-lives too short to be detectable after a few centuries, let alone millions of years. However, some transuranic isotopes could persist on geologic timescales. Two often mentioned are plutonium-244, with a half-life of approximately 80 million years, and curium-247, with a half-life of approximately 15 million years. These isotopes do not occur naturally on Earth in significant quantities. Any plutonium-244 or curium-247 found in an ancient context would be a strong hint of artificial origin. All primordial plutonium-244 has long since decayed, and any curium-247 is only produced in human reactors or bombs. If a prior civilization experienced a nuclear war or had nuclear power accidents, they might have left trace amounts of these long-lived radionucleotides in the sediments. In the natural reactor of Oklo, Gabon, 2 billion years ago, for example, we do not find plutonium itself around. It decayed. But scientists identified the daughter isotopes in anomalously low uranium-235 proportions that indicated fission had occurred. By analogy, we could search ancient rocks for unusual isotopic ratios, like an unexpectedly low uranium-235 to uranium-238 ratio, or excess lead isotopes that would be decay products of plutonium as potential technosignatures. And then lastly, we have multiple co-occurring signals. Perhaps the most convincing evidence, if it existed, would be a whole suite of these changes all concentrated in the same stratigraphic layer. Schmidt and Frank emphasized that while no single factor, CO2 rise or warming or metal spike, etc., is unique in Earth's history, the combination might be unique. A naturally caused event might cause one major change. For example, massive volcanism could cause CO2-driven warming and some ocean acidification, but it might not produce plastics and radionuclides. If we found a layer that had concurrent anomalies, say a carbon isotope excursion, evidence of rapid warming, unusual nitrogen levels, high metal concentrations, synthetic organic molecules, and signs of mass extinction altogether, it would strongly suggest an unnatural civilization-driven cause. Absent the more obvious markers like synthetic molecules of plutonium, it could be the coincidence or the coincidence of several independent markers that tips off a Silurian style event. In our own time, future geologists likely identify a clear Anthropocene package of signals: a spike in CO2 and methane, a jump in temperature, a mass extinction horizon, novel materials like plastic and concrete fragments, radioisotope anomalies from mid-20th century bomb tests, and so on. This will look very unusual against the background of normal Earth variation. The question posed by the Silurian hypothesis is, has anything like this occurred before? If we suspect it has, we should scrutinize any suspicious layers with all the tools at our disposal, which include geochemistry, paleontology, mineralogy, etc. Conversely, if we survey Earth's geologic record and find nothing that matches an Anthropocene-like fingerprint, that is evidence, though not absolute proof, that no previous industrial civilization took place. So let's look at some anomalous events in Earth's history. Are they natural or industrial? Scientists have indeed identified several past events that bear intriguing resemblances to what an industrial impact might look like, though they currently have natural explanations. Let us examine a few of these and consider whether any could potentially mask a prior civilization's footprint, or whether they firmly point to natural causes. So the most common one we talked about a little bit earlier, that's the Paleocene Eocene thermal maximum, the PETM, which occurred approximately 56 million years ago. The PETM, around 56 million years ago, was a geologically brief, approximately 100 to 200,000 year episode of intense global warming. During the PETM, average global temperatures rose by approximately 5 to 8 degrees centigrade, and high latitude areas became almost subtropical. Geochemical data show a prominent negative carbon isotope excursion, or a greater than 3% drop in delta carbon-13, indicating a massive release of light carbon into the ocean atmospheric system. There was ocean acidification, evidenced by dissolution of carbonates and sediments, and a notable extinction of deep-sea benthic foraminifera, which is approximately 30 to 50% of species. Many terrestrial organisms experienced range shifts, and some mammal groups diversified and spread to new continents during this time. The PETM is often attributed to natural causes, possibly a huge volcanic event, the North Atlantic igneous province eruptions, intruding into organic-rich sediments, which could have released vast quantities of methane or CO2. Another hypothesis is a sudden destabilization of methane hydrate deposits. In any case, the PETM's combination of rapid warming and carbon cycle perturbation invites comparison to modern anthropogenic climate change. Could the PETM have been caused by an industrial civilization 56 million years ago? Frank and Schmidt addressed this head on. Their verdict, almost certainly not. The reasoning lies partly in the timescale. The carbon isotopic and temperature shifts in the PETM unfold over tens of thousands of years, with a drawn-out recovery over 100,000 plus years. In contrast, human industry is dumping carbon on a timescale of decades, a blink of an eye in geologic terms. If the PETM were due to a society burning fossil fuels, that society would have had to sustain industrial level emissions for millennia. It's more plausible that the PETM's carbon release was a singular natural event or cluster of events that released carbon more slowly than a deliberate industrial process might. Additionally, while the PETM's initial carbon pulse was geologically fast, it was still on the order of millennia, not centuries. It is difficult to imagine a civilization's impact stretching over 5 to 20,000 years of steadily injecting carbon. Moreover, and if advanced species had lived during the Paleocene, one might expect to see some other evidence of it around that boundary, not just the carbon temperature change. So far, none of the unique markers, plastics, unusual chemicals, etc., have turned up in PETM sediments. Only things that can be explained by natural processes, like increased erosion indicators, clay deposition from weathering, and so on. That said, Frank and Schmidt raise an important conundrum. What if an earlier civilization's active period was much shorter than the resolution of the sedimentary record? If they lasted only a few centuries or millennia, the geological record might smooth out their pulse into a more gradual-looking event. In other words, we might be misled by the coarse resolution of most geologic archives. A sediment core with 1 centimeter layers representing 1,000 years each might show a gradual rise in carbon over a few centimeters. But in reality, perhaps carbon was injected in a 100-year burst. It's just that the sediments blurred it. The PETM's records, as detailed as they are, still might not capture sub-century swings. Therefore, Schmidt and Frank coincide that a short-lived event might not easily be seen unless we look with very high-resolution techniques. The PETM's case or cause is almost certainly natural, yet it serves as a proof of concept that massive carbon releases do occur naturally. Distinguishing a naturally caused carbon cycle disruption from an artificial one might hinge on secondary evidence or on the rate of change. Our modern fossil fuel combustion, for instance, has no known parallel in speed. CO2 levels are rising far faster today than they did at the start of the PETM. Future geologists would likely see an extremely sharp spike for the Anthropocene, sharper than PETM's record. If we found an equally sharp ancient spike, it would be highly anomalous. Interestingly, smaller echo events after the PETM, such as the Eocene thermal maximum 2 around 53 million years ago, and several other Eocene hyperthermals, have similar, though smaller, isotopic and warming signals. These have been whimsically dubbed ELMOs, or Eocene layers of mysterious origin. Again, mainstream science attributes them to episodic natural greenhouse gas releases. They show Earth's climate system can undergo repeated perturbations, which one might poetically liken to aftershocks after a big event. If one were entering the Silurian hypothesis, one could ask, did a civilization somehow trigger these multiple spikes? Perhaps not likely. There are plausible geological explanations, like volcanic cycles or ocean circulation feedbacks. But it's worth noting that Earth's record does have these momentary blips, which at least superficially resemble what we'd expect from bursts of industrial activity. All right, I'm just checking back in to make sure that everybody can hear me, which they can. I don't see any complaints, so that's good. All right. So ocean anoxic events. I guess that means acidification. This is the Cretaceous period. During the mid-Cretaceous, approximately 90 to 120 million years ago, the Earth experienced several ocean anoxic events, or OAEs. In these events, large portions of the ocean became depleted in oxygen, causing organic matter to be preserved in black shales globally. They are marked by black shale layers indicating high organic carbon deposition, mass die-offs in marine life, especially deep-sea species, and often positive excursions in carbon isotopes after an initial negative spike. OAEs are thought to result from natural processes, possibly massive undersea volcanic activity releasing CO2 and nutrients, leading to global warming, enhanced rainfall, nutrient runoff, algal blooms, and then widespread oxygen depletion in stagnating oceans. They have distinct geochemical signals, for instance, certain metal concentrations, for instance, vanadium, chromium, molybdenum, rise during OAEs because these accumulate in oxygen poor conditions. Nitrogen isotopes also shift, indicating changes in the nitrogen cycle under anoxic conditions. From a Silurian hypothesis perspective, could an advanced civilization cause an OAE-like signature? Possibly, though it would require truly planetary scale impact. One scenario might be extensive fossil fuel burning, leading to global warming, leading to ocean stratification and deoxygenation, combined with nutrient influx from agriculture, leading to dead zones. In fact, we are witnessing a smaller scale version of this in modern times. Climate warming and fertilizer runoff are expanding ocean minimum zones in the ocean. It's been speculated that if our fossil fuel use were extreme and prolonged, it might trigger something like an anoxic event. Schmidt and Frank even muse on a cyclical scenario. A civilization triggers ocean anoxia, which eventually forms new oil deposits that a later civilization could use. Such an ancient civilization could theoretically have kicked off a Cretaceous OAE by similar means. However, the Cretaceous OAE lasted hundreds of thousands of years, again, much longer than any plausible civilization's duration. These geologic events, isotopic trends, etc., suggest gradual processes rather than a sudden shock that then abated quickly. Also, OAE sediments show things like very high organic carbon content from algae, which implicates natural biological productivity, not industrial waste. No abnormal synthetic chemicals have been detected in those layers, only compounds like certain biomarkers that come from marine life or bacteria. In short, the known OAEs are well explained by volcano-climate feedback models and don't demand invoking intelligent actors. But they are information analogies. They show that some effects of a civilization, CO2 rise, warming, deoxygenation, do have natural counterparts. They might have natural counterparts today, too, just to be clear. If we are trying to propose or prove a past civilization, we need to show the event in question cannot be purely natural. So far, no past event meets that criterion. As Schmidt and Frank write, most of the individual markers of human industrial activity will not be unique in the context of Earth history, but the combination of tracers may be. When we look at PETM or OAEs, we see some markers, carbon spike, warming, etc., but not the full combination that screams industry. It's a task of a skeptic to say, why attribute it to hypothetical dinosaurs with power plants when natural causes suffice? The Silurian hypothesis doesn't claim any known event is actually anthropogenic-like. It merely opens the question of whether we might have overlooked one. All right, let's look at other notable anomalies and considerations. There are a few other oddities in Earth's record, often mentioned in this context, though none provide solid evidence of a past civilization. Approximately 2.4 billion years ago, there was the Great Oxygenation Event. This was actually caused by microbes, not advanced beings, but it's a dramatic instance of life-altering planet chemistry. Cyanobacteria proliferated and filled the atmosphere with oxygen, virtually poisoning many anaerobic life forms. It shows that even simple life can leave a huge mark. Rising O2 levels, banded iron formations from oxidized iron. One might say the first global pollution event was biological. If an ancient civilization had existed, its industrial pollution could similarly show up as a big atmospheric change. The GOE is clearly far too early for any complex animals, but it highlights the concept of biosignatures and technosignatures overlapping. Life and industry can have similar effects like greenhouse gas changes. Then there's the mass extinction at the end of the Permian, which is approximately 252 million years ago. The worst mass extinction in history, likely caused by massive Siberian trap volcanism, possibly amplified by methane release. Approximately 90% of species went extinct. It was associated with global warming, ocean acidification, anoxia, essentially many of the hallmarks that could also accompany a civilization-driven catastrophe. Could an industrial civilization have caused the end Permian extinction? It's extremely doubtful. A huge volcanic event is a sufficient explanation, and there's no sign of any artificial materials in that boundary, which has been well studied. If anything, if an advanced species had been alive then, they likely would have been wiped out by that natural catastrophe. Some science fiction scenarios imagine ancient civilizations destroyed by such events. For instance, an advanced dino species killed by the asteroid at 65 million years ago, leaving no survivors. If they had any tech, it got obliterated. But speculation aside, nothing in the Permian rock suggests a prior industry. No exotic chemicals, etc. Just flood basalts and their effects. Another sign is out-of-place artifacts, or OOP arts. In French literature, one often hears of mysterious objects like screws or spark plugs allegedly found in coal seams or ancient rock. These claims have uniformly been debunked or explained as either hoaxes, misidentifications, or modern contaminants. Serious researchers have not found any credible human-made objects in rocks older than a few million years. If a hammer or electronic device from the Jurassic were ever reliably discovered in situ, it would revolutionize our understanding of history, but none have passed scientific muster. We mention this only to distinguish the rigorous Silurian hypothesis approach, which relies on geochemistry and established records from the pseudoscientific claims of Atlantis or ancient astronauts. Frank and Schmidt intentionally distanced their work from such pseudoscience, focusing instead on geologically plausible evidence and acknowledging the speculative nature of the exercise. As of now, mainstream science has uncovered no physical artifact that indicates a pre-human technological civilization. In all known cases, natural explanations for past anomalies suffice. However, the Silurian hypothesis encourages scientists to re-examine some of these events with fresh eyes and improved techniques. For example, if we drill new sediment cores from the PETM interval with ultra-high resolution, could we detect an abrupt spike within the smooth curve? Are there unexplained residues in any clay or shell layers that are on closer chemical analysis look synthetic? These are questions researchers could investigate. The exercise is useful even if it yields nothing because it refines our ability to detect unusual technosignatures in general. In their paper, Schmidt and Frank propose some concrete tests such as searching for byproducts of plastic or strange organic molecules in ancient sediments, and deeper exploration of elemental anomalies that have been noted but perhaps not explained. Thus far, no such smoking gun has appeared, but our look into Earth's deep past is far from exhaustive. Large portions of the rock record are not deeply analyzed for trace organic or synthetic compounds, simply because no one expected to find technology there. The Silurian hypothesis advocates for a kind of geochemical SETI on Earth, a search for unlikely signals in old rocks just in case. Then there are evolutionary considerations. Could intelligence have arisen before? A separate but related question is how plausible it is from an evolutionary standpoint that Earth could host an advanced civilization prior to humans. Even if the geological record could hide such a civilization, was there time and opportunity for one to evolve? Here we might consider the timeline of life's development and the traits required for an industrial civilization. Intelligence and tool use have evolved in some form in a few lineages. For example, some cetaceans, dolphins otherwise known as, birds like crows and parrots, and cephalopods, i.e., octopuses, are quite or octopi are quite intelligent. But none of these have the combination of cognitive ability and physical means to develop technology beyond rudimentary tools. In the entire Phanerozoic eon, the last approximately 540 million years of evident complex life, the human lineage is, as far as we know, the only one that achieved a level of intelligence sufficient to build cities and machines. Is that mere chance, or are there constraints that made it unlikely to happen sooner? Some scientists argue that the evolution of human level intelligence was far from inevitable. It required a fortuitous set of circumstances and traits. Our primate ancestors evolved not just big brains, but dexterous hands with opposable thumbs, prolonged childhood learning periods, and complex social structures that enabled cumulative culture. This particular package may be rare. For much of the age of dinosaurs, for instance, brains remained relatively small in proportion to body size for most species. One of the largest brain dinosaurs, Troodon, a small Cretaceous theropod, is often speculated by paleontologist Dale Russell to have had the potential to evolve greater intelligence if given more time. Russell even hypothesized a speculative dinosauroid descendant that could have been a reptilian humanoid. But this was purely imaginative. Troodon did not get the chance as the dinosaur line, except birds, was wiped out 65 million years ago by an asteroid impact. Could a dinosaur species have reached human-like intelligence and civilization if the Cretaceous extinction never happened? We cannot rule it out, but there is zero fossil evidence that any dinosaur did more than perhaps use simple tools. And even that is not confirmed. No dinosaur tool artifacts have been found. As Adam Frank put it bluntly, I don't think there was a dinosaur civilization. The end Cretaceous catastrophe is a dividing line. Before it, mammals were small and few had advanced intelligence. After it, some mammalian lines, primates, and cetaceans started moving toward higher intelligence over tens of millions of years, culminating in hominids. If not dinosaurs, what about after them, but before humans? The 60 million years between the dinosaur extinction and the rise of humans saw many diverse mammals and birds. But again, none show evidence of reaching technological society. There were some large-brained mammals, dolphins, and some primates. But dolphins were aquatic, no fire or metallurgy possible underwater, presumably. And primates did not branch into tool making, Homo sapiens, or tool making Homo, until maybe 2.5 million years ago. It appears that reaching an industrial stage might require a lineage that hits upon a very specific combination of traits, like intelligence, dexterity, social complexity, access to resources. Evolutionarily, that might be a low probability outcome. The fact it took 4+ billion years on Earth to produce one species capable of industrial civilization, us, suggests it is not something that happens readily whenever life is around. On the other hand, one could argue that given enough time, multiple instances could occur. Some theorists, even science fiction writers like Isaac Asimov, as noted in commentary, have speculated that intelligence might arise, get knocked down by disasters, and then arise again multiple times on a habitable planet if mass extinctions periodically reset the stage. Perhaps intelligence could be a recurring experiment in evolution. However, each time it would likely take a different form and path. If an earlier civilization did emerge, what might it have been? We can only conjecture. Maybe an intelligent species of the mammalian order that is now extinct, perhaps a clever carnivoran or ungulate in the Eocene that we have no evidence of, or a highly social cephalopod in the Devonian seas, though building electronics underwater without fire seems implausible. Or even an intelligent avian species in the Paleogene. Birds did produce some surprisingly brainy forms like corvids, but those are more recent. None of these leave concrete evidence. As of now, every known tool-using or culture-building species, aside from humans, has very limited material impact. So some birds use sticks, some primates crack nuts with stones, but they don't build lasting structures beyond perhaps simple nests. If some pre-human animal had built stone buildings or mines, we probably would have noticed something left over, unless again it was all eroded away. Another factor is energy resources. Frank and Schmidt point out that an industrial civilization would likely need to exploit fossil fuels to get started, unless it miraculously skipped to solar or other sources. This means that a prior civilization would probably not occur before the Carboniferous period, because prior to that, there were not large deposits of coal or oil. The Carboniferous, which was approximately 300 to 350 million years ago, laid down extensive coal swamps. Oil mostly comes from marine plankton deposits in various eras. So a civilization anytime from the late Paleozoic onward could have had fuel for an industrial revolution. Before that, say in the early Paleozoic or Precambrian, there were neither the energy resources nor the oxygen levels to support high metabolism animals on land. So we can constrain the time frame roughly in the last 300 million years. It's physically conceivable to have had an industrial society. Within that time, multiple opportunities exist. After each mass extinction, new groups radiated. For instance, after the end Permian extinction of approximately 252 million years ago, reptiles or archosaurs took dominance and eventually led to dinosaurs. After the end Cretaceous, 66 million years ago, mammals radiated. If one mass extinction hadn't happened, like the dinosaur-killing asteroid, perhaps dinosaurs might have eventually evolved into something akin to human intelligence millions of years later. Conversely, if the asteroid hadn't struck, mammals might not have gotten their shot at all, so chance is deeply involved. Given these considerations, the consensus is that it's unlikely any species reached human-level intelligence and technological capability before us, because we see no compelling evidence of such in the rich fossil and archaeological record of life. Humans, of genus Homo, emerged and within a couple million years achieved things like art, tools, and eventually cities. That shows how fast it can go once certain thresholds are crossed. But we see no similar takeoff in earlier epochs. Even highly intelligent animals like dolphins never went beyond their ecological niche. It may be that the evolutionary pathway to a global civilization is so narrow that it generally won't repeat on the same planet. Still, we cannot be completely certain. A species could have reached a modest level of technology, perhaps equivalent to, say, our Iron Age, and then been wiped out by a catastrophe or gradual climate shift. And because they hadn't spread globally or lasted long, the traces could be few. They might not have built enough or altered the environment enough to leave a clear signature. It's a speculative scenario, but not entirely impossible. For example, imagine a small civilization on one continent that discovered agriculture and metallurgy, flourished for 50,000 years, then succumbed to a volcanic winter or disease. If their population never exploded in the way humanity's did, and they didn't industrialize on a global scale, their footprint might be extremely subtle, perhaps a slightly accelerated extinction rate of local megafauna or some minor soil chemistry changes where they farmed. Such slight signals would be almost undetectable now. The Silurian hypothesis, however, is mostly concerned with industrial civilizations, those that harness energy on a large scale and modify the planet globally. It's safe to assume no prior species launched satellites or built continent-spanning cities, because we'd likely have found something of that legacy, like space debris, ruins in remote areas, etc. The absence of any obvious artifact, combined with evolutionary arguments, make most scientists confident that humans are the first technological civilization on Earth. Nonetheless, exploring the possibility forces us to think about how we might appear or not appear in the distant future's fossil record, and it encourages looking at a few puzzles in Earth's past with fresh perspective. All right, so what are the implications for planetary science and the search for extraterrestrial intelligence? Why bother asking about ancient Earth civilizations at all if we don't actually think they existed? Schmidt and Frank's motivation was partly to broaden astrobiology's thinking. When we search for extraterrestrial intelligence, We often look for signals like radio transmissions from currently active civilizations around other stars. But the universe is maybe 13.8 billion years old, or double that, and civilizations, if they exist elsewhere, could rise and fall at any time. It's been noted that finding concurrent alien civilizations might be hard because the window of detectable technology or technological activity could be short. The Silurian hypothesis brings that concern close to home. If another civilization had lived on Earth 100 million years ago, there might be virtually no obvious evidence for us to detect today. By extension, exoplanet telescopes might observe a planet and see no signs of life or tech now, even if intelligent life thrived there 50 million years earlier. Thus, astrobiology might need to consider how to detect not just extinct extraterrestrial civilizations, but extinct ones, civilizations that left relics or planetary impacts that persist. This is sometimes called the search for technosignatures in a broad sense. One idea is to look at planetary atmospheres for anomalous gas compositions that could be residues of industrial pollution. For instance, if we detected a planet with an oxygen-rich atmosphere suggesting life, but also with trace gases like CFCs or nitrogen oxide that have no natural source, it would be a strong indicator of technology. However, such gases also break down relatively quickly. CFCs last a few decades in atmospheres, so they'd indicate current activity, not past. A long-gone civilization's atmosphere would likely have reverted to a more natural state unless some byproduct was extremely long-lived. Another technosignature might be planetary surface artifacts visible via high-resolution imaging. So, for instance, huge solar panel arrays or city light patterns on the night side. But again, those would vanish once the civilization is gone. Lights go out, structures eventually crumble. If aliens visited our Earth 10 million years from now, they might only see ruins, if anything. And even those might be hard to spot under vegetation or sediment. One place evidence might persist longer is in space. Jason T. Wright, in a 2017 paper on prior indigenous technological species, suggests that if any technological species arose in the solar system, either on Earth or another planet like Venus or Mars, some of their artifacts could still be around in space, for instance, on the Moon, Mars, or in the asteroid belts, where they wouldn't erode as quickly. The Moon, in particular, is a relatively static environment. No atmosphere, no plate tectonics. An object left on the Moon could survive for many millions or even billions of years, only slowly degraded by micrometeorites and cosmic radiation. If Earth had an advanced civilization in the remote past that achieved spaceflight, admittedly an even more far-fetched scenario, excuse me, they might have left equipment on the Moon. We humans have already left artifacts on the Moon, like Apollo hardware, which, barring some interference, will persist for a very long time. So one proposal is to search the Moon's surface for any inexplicable artificial-looking objects or structures that could predate human visits. So far, none have been observed in the high-resolution images from lunar orbiters that have not been edited out. I'll add. And it's extremely unlikely we'd find anything, but the Moon is large and only partially mapped at high detail. Or we already found something in classified reality, like we do about just about everything else. Mars is another potential storage for artifacts. Mars had a more benign environment in the ancient past with water on the surface. So some have speculated life could have flourished there, or even an intelligent species, though there's zero evidence of complex life on Mars. It's not true. There's Cydonia, Mensa, and the faces on Galaxis Chaos. Yeah, you could say they're pareidolia, but to say that there's zero evidence is inaccurate. It's conflicting, and it's, you have to interpret it, but one could argue you can't just say there's zero. There's some evidence, depending on how you interpret it. If an Earth civilization wanted to leave a message or archive enduring through geological eons, sending it to Mars or the Moon might be a good strategy. Indeed, some scientists have mused about doing that ourselves, making a kind of time capsule on the Moon to preserve human knowledge long after we're gone. In terms of planetary science, considering the Silurian hypothesis helps us sharpen our understanding of what a planetary industrial civilization does to a planet. Frank's interest was originally in an astrobiological perspective on climate change. He wondered whether any civilization on any planet using energy and altering its environment will inevitably produce a suite of feedbacks like climate change that could threaten its survival. This leads to the concept of a self-limiting civilization, one that either learns to live sustainably or collapses under the weight of its own environmental impact. If sustainability is achieved, the geological footprints might be small, so the civilization, though short-lived, might leave little trace. If collapse occurs, it might be accompanied by a burst of signals, pollution, extinctions that are geologically short-lived. Either way, these ideas feed into how we think about the Drake equation, the probability of intelligent civilizations in the galaxy at any given time. Perhaps many civilizations burn bright but brief, leaving only faint remains. Frank and Schmidt's study essentially adds a new dimension to SETI, temporal SETI, or planetary archaeology. We typically think of searching other planets for signs of current life or tech, but perhaps we should also look for oddities that might indicate past sophisticated life. For example, when examining exoplanet atmospheres, astrobiologists have proposed looking for disequilibrium gases like oxygen for life or chlorinated hydrocarbons for industry. If we ever find a planet that had an oxygen-rich atmosphere in the past, say through analysis of gas trapped in polar ice, if that could be remotely sensed, or other indirect methods, but no longer does, it might hint at something like a biosphere collapse or even a civilization-caused climate disaster. Another implication is with regard to the Fermi paradox, the famous question, where is everybody, given the high probability that life could evolve elsewhere? If advanced civilizations tend to have short technological phases that don't overlap in time, the galaxy could be teeming with ruins and extinct civilizations that are not broadcasting. Earth might be a template. Perhaps intelligent species arise occasionally, alter their planet, and either die out or revert to a low-tech state, leaving ambiguous traces. If that's a common outcome, it would reconcile the idea that life might be common, yet detecting clear signals of extant intelligent life is hard. Most may be relics. The Silurian hypothesis also has a cautionary angle for us. By contemplating how an advanced species could disappear without a trace, we are reminded of our own fragility. It forces the question, if we were to collapse, what would remain of us in, say, 50 million years? Would another species in the far future, perhaps intelligent burns or uplifted rats, have any idea we existed? Our plastics, if any survive, might clue them in, or a thin layer of fallout radionuclides. But maybe very little would be obvious. This gives a sense of perspective on environmental stewardship. In the end, even our great cities might be ephemeral. In a way, the ultimate legacy of a civilization might be only the geochemical scars it leaves. Some have taken this as an inspiration to think about strategies to leave a more lasting record, for example, constructing an Earth archive in a deep, stable part of Earth's crust or on the moon, detailing our existence for whomever might find it eons later. On the flip side, if we are confident no one came before us, that also says something optimistic. Once a planet achieves a technological species, that species has a unique chance to endure and spread life and intelligence further. We are apparently the first on Earth, perhaps the first in our solar system, period. We found no evidence of anything on Mars or Venus either. Not true. Well, I don't know about Venus. You have to ask the Russians about that. But Mars, there's some ambiguous evidence, let's say. That puts the responsibility on us to not end up as a thin plastic and isotopic blip in the rocks. Gavin Schmidt mused about how the more sustainable a civilization is, the smaller its geologic footprint. An ideal advanced civilization might learn to live in equilibrium with this planet, producing minimal pollution or waste that would fossilize. Ironically, that means the most successful civilization, one that lasts millions of years, might leave the least obvious traces. If we discover an exoplanet that seems completely pristine but has an odd history, it could be because its inhabitants mastered harmony. Earth currently is not in that state. We are making a grand, easily noticeable stratum. But in time, if humanity survives and changes its ways, we might deliberately minimize our technosignature. In summary, thinking about Silurian civilizations have broadened discussions in astrobiology and the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. It reminds us that time is as important as space in the search for intelligence. It also encourages interdisciplinary collaboration. Geologists, chemists, biologists, and astronomers can all contribute to identifying unusual patterns that might, emphasis on might, point to technology. While it remains a highly speculative realm, it's essentially applying the maxim absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Just because we haven't found something doesn't mean we shouldn't look carefully. Even Schmidt and Frank's detractors would argue that examining Earth's past in more detail can only improve our understanding of natural processes and sharpen our tools for finding the non-natural. After surveying the question from scientific, geological, and evolutionary angles, we return to the original inquiry. Could advanced civilizations have existed on Earth before humans, perhaps even multiple times? The prudent answer is that it is highly unlikely, and certainly there is no convincing evidence for any such civilization at present. All signs point to Homo sapiens being the first technological species on the planet. Nonetheless, the exercise of the Silurian hypothesis is far from futile. In exploring how we might detect a prior civilization, we have learned a great deal about the durability or ephemerality of our own civilization's impact. The thought experiment underscores just how special or precarious our situation is. For now, the Silurian hypothesis remains a fascinating speculation, a catalyst for scientific curiosity rather than a confirmed chapter of Earth's history. On the pro side of the argument, we acknowledge that Earth's deep time and incomplete record leave room for the faint possibility that something like an industrial society could have arisen in a remote era. The vast timescales involved mean that even rocks or even events that loom large from a human perspective can be condensed to invisibility in the rocks. It is sobering to realize that in 100 million years, our skyscrapers, cars, and devices may all be erased, and the only hints of us could be a chemical spike or a thin fossil layer. If that is our fate, it could have been the fate of others before us. We identified specific markers, isotopic anomalies, synthetic chemicals, unusual sediment compositions that, if found in concert in an ancient layer, would raise tantalizing questions. The absence, so far, of any such confluence of markers in pre-Quaternary strata suggests no previous civilizations reached our level of planetary impact. But because we have only recently even conceived of looking for these signals, it's worth continuing to examine ancient rocks with new techniques in case we missed something subtle. On the con side, the lack of any artifacts or indisputable unnatural substances in the geologic column is strong negative evidence. Evolutionary biology also provides no hint of earlier tool-making intelligence. No anomalous fossils, no sudden technological leaps recorded by geology, no enduring monuments. Every candidate geological event we studied, PETM, OAEs, etc., can be explained by natural phenomena without invoking unknown actors. In science, Occam's razor pushes us to favor the simpler explanations. Massive volcanism, not mythical Paleocene engineers. So while we can't prove that a past civilization didn't exist, you cannot prove a counterfactual in this context. The burden of proof is on showing positive evidence if one wants to assert it. So far, the burden hasn't been met. Frank and Schmidt's own conclusion was that they do not believe any Earth civilization predates our own. Rather, by formally asking the question, they hope to spur new insights into astrobiology and our footprint on Earth. In reflecting on broader ideas, the Silurian hypothesis bridges the deep past and the cosmic future. It tells us to see humanity in the long saga of planetary evolution as potentially significant, but also potentially transient. For the general educated reader, it provides a grand perspective on how delicately science must tease out historical truths from fragmentary clues. The Earth is remarkably adept at cleansing itself of surface disturbances over eons. This is good news for the planet's resilience, but it means our civilization, or any other, must shout very loudly, geologically speaking, to be heard across the ages. We are indeed shouting now through climate change and environmental transformation. Perhaps the greatest value of contemplating prior advanced beings is that it holds up a mirror to ourselves. Will we leave a legacy that is constructive and lasting, say a stable, long-term stewardship of Earth, or expansion beyond Earth? Or will we fade, leaving only a mysterious layer of plastic and altered isotopes? If another species had made the wrong choice and perished, could we detect that warning in the rocks, and would we heed it? These questions, while speculative, inspire scientific vigilance. They encourage a multidisciplinary approach to reading Earth's history, blending astronomy, geology, chemistry, and biology. In the end, while an advanced civilization before humans makes for sensational headlines and imaginative fiction, the scientific verdict leans heavily toward no. We find no Atlantis, the Jurassic, no industrial age of the dinosaurs. Yet the very process of verifying that no enriches our science. The Silurian hypothesis has prompted researchers to catalog our Anthropocene signals and to think about planets as dynamic entities that could host cycles of life and intelligence. It reminds us that in the quest to find life in the universe, we must be mindful not just of distance and space, but of time. Civilizations might be like flashes of lightning in a storm, bright but fleeting, with the darkness between them long and obscure. The Earth presently hosts one such flash, our own. If we do not want to become another obscure layer, we might take a lesson from this grand thought experiment in learning how a civilization might vanish without a trace. We might better appreciate and preserve the one we have now. All right, folks, that's it, and that's all. So let's see what people have had to say while I've been out reading. Ugh, stuff that kind of makes me blind. Okay, so Thomas Donovan is saying, stand by, incoming message from 3i Atlas. I wonder what the heck it said. So Tim Beck is saying, funny, weird. Sean, you mentioned sending someone to the void. As I just tuned in to your channel after watching the movie Enter the Void. Small sync. Yeah, lots of weird syncs. I had a weird one happen today, too. In fact, I just got this book by Peter J. Carroll called Lieber Null and Psychonaut. And the moment that I looked and saw an email from Amazon saying that it had been delivered today, the time was 11:11. Of course, as one does. Spiritual Ascension writes Silurians, I. Randall Mars says, greetings. Hope you're all well. Welcome, Randall. And Tim, obviously, good to see you again. Yeah, Thomas Donovan Jr. is writing, don't forget to take all the algorithm, guys. 57 watching, 26 likes. Yeah, if you just, let's just put that up there, actually. That reminds me. There we go. I don't know if Gray Owl's here. If he is, he's late. A crushing realist. Scott Ian says, this computer doesn't like people much, methinks. What computer? Hey, Nolties. Hello, hello. Jalay Jalal, good to see you. So Tim Beck is saying, perhaps passing through a cyclical galactic magnetic sheet alters the DNA. Who knows? Scott Ian writes, I would imagine that any industrial influences would look just like another naturally occurring substance layer after, long enough. If we found a plasticine layer, how would we know where? Yeah, exactly. And they might develop completely different technologies. Maybe they had sonic technologies that rely on ceramics, or I'm just making this up, but who knows? There he is. There's Gray Owl. Thank you. Gray Owl writes, howdy, Sean. Nice little podcast you got going on here. Agree. Scott Ian continues, if we had found the plastic layer before we discovered plastics, I mean, who knows? Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if we had discovered, we wouldn't know what the hell it was. We'd be like, what is this? Yeah. Yeah, Gray Owl's eyes are burning because Solite US Expat is busting Gray Owl's balls for being late. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, so Gray Owl, right? Solite Expat have always been here. Oh my god. Yeah, thank you very much, Solet US Expat. Uh, thank you for the congratulations. Yeah, it took forever to get to 20,000. My God, I mean, not quite 4 years, but I'm definitely getting close to 4 years. January 22nd will be the anniversary. Mermaid movie is late. Gray Owl. Yes, Gray Owl, you are correct. I need to be at 100,000 by the end of next year. Otherwise, I'm wasting time. Gray Owl writes $20 says Sean isn't satisfied with the 20K. We're already be amassing just army, I don't GIs armies on the eastern front of Europe on the YouTube board game of Risk. Yeah, I won't be satisfied until I can make a living doing only this, and I'm still pretty far from that. Okay, so like US Expert said, laugh aloud, probably, but let's start placing our bets as to what he will hit by the end of 2026. If I don't hit 100,000 by 2026, I'm wasting my time. Like it's time to do something else. It's taken way too long for me to get this far. Oh, thank you, Mermaid Moxie. Appreciate you. Okay, so Solite US Expat is just asking, has anyone seen the remote viewing data that Metaphysical had on crop circles? It was interesting. They are going to do an episode on fairies. One of the host's friends found a dead fairy, apparently. What? That sounds weird or sketch. Let's see. So Gray Owl saying, I think a classic sport model saucer would be more styling. Tic Tac needs an Italian designer and some new bodywork. True. Sorry, I'm just trying to get through a lot of these comments. Oh, okay. So Tim Beck saying against the grain channel for the geometrical significance of CCs. Okay, so Nikki Milam says I just went down the rabbit hole of MH370 and Ashton Forbes. As crazy as things sound, it makes sense. Yeah, I think the intelligence community took the aircraft down because it had a bunch of Chinese engineers with knowledge of these critical semiconductors from Freescale on board. And they were heading to Beijing. I think the U.S. intelligence community took the plane out of the sky, and I think the all the portal craziness and all that stuff is just like it's like is basically disinformation or misinformation. And I just don't think the government, U.S. government, wants people to know that they killed civilians that way. But that again, I'm just speculating, but I just look at the data and that's what that tells me. So good evening, Ellie Softly. Okay, so Gray Owl saying, contrary to mainstream debunkology that tries to write everything off, the current working Gray Owl theory of everything is that it's all real. Ghost schools, goddamn goblins. Okay. All right, so Mermaid Moxie is saying Lacerda claimed they descended from an upright saurian ancestor that had a primitive thumb-like digit, but she did not name a dinosaur species. The Solite US expat is saying there was some archaeologist that went into some cave and saw a reptilian-looking dinosaur doing something in Switzerland. Forgot what channel I heard that on. Maybe Phantoms and Monsters. Let's see. Okay, so Mermaid Moxie is saying the Farsight remote viewers said there was a humanoid dinosaur species. They lived in trees, if I remember correctly. The Arcadians and some African cultures speak of a time before the moon. All right, so Solite US Expat is saying 44 likes and 87 people watching. Come on, folks, hit that like button. Gray Owl is writing, sooner or later, AI is just going to say, the hell with it. I can't drone on any longer reading the script from Wiki Wazoo. Yes, aliens are here. There's shit on the moon. And what else do you want to know? Okay, so Randall Mars says an incredibly safe bet that if an academic paper is alluding to the moon and Mars as being great places to preserve evidence of an advanced civilization, they 100% already know that to be fact. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Yep, Randall Mars says that they're a star. That's the best point on here. It like if they didn't find anything, there would be no reason to even mention that. But it's almost like let's just dispel all these other things too. Tim Beck says Earth as a vivarium. I tend toward that hypothesis. So Randall Mars is saying, let's not forget that 40-foot metallic tic tac scans have been revealed underground in the labyrinth of Egypt. Very interesting. All right, so post bankruptcy, Malone '09 is saying, just got here, but when I was a kid, I had a sleep paralysis dream within a dream. This was the first and only time that happened. A long story short, I've recently listened to David Icke speak with Zulu shaman Credo Mutwa in what Credo describes as the Chitari Darth Maul faced subterranean species is exactly what I recall seeing. Interesting. All right, so Randall Morris is saying the evidence strongly suggests a global civilization that disappeared long before our records. I'm guessing we have at least 100,000 years of missing civilization. Maybe. Post bankruptcy, Malone '09 says, not sure if I've come across this or if this is a potential data point for you, but certainly made me do a double take. Okay, so Mermaid Moxie is saying the veil is thinning. You must have seen it before to recognize it in Credo's painting. This is Solite US Expat saying, when I finally got out of bed and looked at my phone, 11:11. I've been seeing these numbers a lot lately. Yeah, keep hitting the like button. Thanks, everyone. Okay, so Bill is saying recently watched the Future Forecasters episode where you talked about the four paths of the afterlife. It was honestly one of the most interesting perspectives I've heard in a long time. Get ready to hear it again because I interviewed Remote Viewer X, i.e., Derek. That you'll see that kind of second to the penultimate week in December, where he goes through it again. Seems like all the channels in the subject that are big do produce stories with sound, narration, B-roll. Fred's saying, not necessarily. Like Polarity started a channel less than a year ago, same format as this, and yeah, maybe they use a little bit of B-roll. I use it sometimes too. I just don't use it a lot because I just produce more episodes. So, like you'll notice when I interview Peter J. Carroll, he doesn't like to appear on camera, so I created an AI avatar for him. So, if you're interested in that, the first episode I made available for captains on the YouTube side, and then first lieutenants and above on the Patreon side. It's available now. Otherwise, it'll be available in like 11 days, so you don't have to wait that long. Yeah, I repeat that comment. So Solite US Expat is saying, everyone please like and share Sean's video so we can get him to 100,000 by the end of 2026. Hell, like and share so we can get there by the end of 2025. Hey, welcome Flubber Lane 8437. Congrats. Thank you for subscribing. I appreciate you. Okay, so Fred says Ashton Forbes knows nothing about video production and his ego is so huge he doesn't listen to the people who know. Okay, so J Rod is saying they're called saurians, and if a chameleon can reflect its environment to blend in by changing color, what's so different than a vril being able to blend into the perception on a big scale? That's true. That's totally fair. Let me just check something. Hold on, I might have somebody jump on. Hold on. Okay, so let me just try something. Um, all right, sorry. Sorry for the Rwana Tic Tac. Say more. Uh, so Gray Owl's writing, I ran Patrick Jackson's vid captures of two different ultra-terrestrial type cats that showed up when he was in the field, and one of them definitely looks reptile-like. Okay, so Spiritual Ascension says the fact that so many people are drawn to Egypt through their spiritual path effing screams to me something dark going on there. 40 meters wide. Ran through them gray. Okay. J Rod saying, and I can not overlook the sun being 400x further away from the Earth, the moon exactly 400x larger than the moon, creating a perfectly mathematically impossible stage for eclipses. Yeah, it's true. Spiritual Ascension says the fact that pyramids align with Orion, too. The four paths of the afterlife, I'll just say them really quick: heaven, hell, reincarnation, and then complete dissolution of consciousness. Just you cease to exist. Okay, so Tim Beck is saying Harry Harrison, sci-fi author, wrote West of Eden in 1984. Eulaine reptoids fight humans for territory resources. Interesting. Okay, so Scared Shiftless is writing. That's a creepy gray photo, man. That's really creepy. The Vatican should be stormed. They shouldn't be able to hide, hoard all the artifacts there. The Pope isn't God or a God and shouldn't be worshipped like one. Oh, fair. Okay, so Mermaid Moxie Polarity got likes from the reptilian shapeshifter Smashing Pumpkins guy with oh yeah, that's right, the Tia Takia video. It zoomed up from there. Yeah. Yeah, that definitely helped. That was a good video. Yeah, I don't think so. and like I've told, I mean, look, he's right about some stuff, but this whole orbs thing, like, no. But I'll talk to him. Like I have a good, at least last time I talked to him, I had a good relationship with him, and there's no insults or anything like that. I think something definitely did happen to that flight, but it was more, uh, there's more conventional explanations for it. So anyway, S. Fleischer is saying Ashton Forbes has been right about everything. Let's see. Yeah, Flubber Lane. Gray Owl does this to everybody. It's a term of endearment. He just tells everybody they're late. So don't interpret it as a threat. Just it's kind of a welcome. It's a welcoming thing. Yeah, you should read it. Like, there's a warning in his book that's super creepy. In fact, let me see if I can grab it without collapsing this huge stack of books I have up here that are still all unread. All right, so this is the book I'm talking about. So in the intro, not the intro, but in the front matter of the books, there's some, it says author's note. So I'll just give folks a second to see that. What it says is Liber Null or Liber Null and Psychonaut was written for serious occult seekers and therefore it's hard for me to see this in the low light, and therefore contain some powerful rituals. These rituals and exercises should be performed by readers who are in good health. If one suffers from heart disease, epilepsy, or any chronic disease, please do not use this material in this book. The author and the publisher will not accept any responsibility for misuse of this material, nor will they accept any responsibility for anything that may occur when readers use the exercises discussed here. There's a warning just for reading the book. Anyway. Okay. Okay. So Solite USX by Daz Smith, and I can't remember who else on his team remote viewed MH370. Sean, you could ask them about it. I read a lot of stuff, but the chaos magic stuff resonated the most with me. It's very mathematical. Like there's actually an equation that describes magical operations. I'm just reading it. I'm just trying to like learn this stuff. So Solite US Expat says, does remote viewing X or Remove Viewer X have data as to why certain people get deleted? I mean, we as consciousness and how to avoid that. Nope. Nobody really knows. Yeah, most creators probably don't read. I mean, I don't have a ton of time. I just keep buying books and like reading parts of them. But so Spiritual Ascension is saying chaos magic is risky stuff, my dude. I'm not saying I'm going to do it. I'm just learning about it. Yep. So Tim Beck says sound advice regarding Carol's book. Anything unordinary is confusing. Okay. So Solite US Expat says, well, I wish we could try to remote view why certain consciousness gets deleted. Pretty scary stuff. Yeah. Okay. So Spiritual Ascension says, be vigilant about what doors you open. Some aren't easy to close. Well, fair enough. The weird thing was when I got word that it had arrived was at exactly 11:11. So my interpretation of that is the universe is saying, learn more. So anyway. All right. I think I am all caught up finally. Mathematics. So Tim, chaos magic is a tad different. I don't know if he saw. So Mermaid Moxie saying, didn't Dick Allgaier see Hitler get dissipated? I remember that. He may have, but he also saw him get buried in South America, which attracted attention of Michael, who's the enigmatic character there. So I'll just leave it at that. Okay. Oh, hold on. I might have a surprise guest. I wasn't sure, but now I might. Give me a second, and you will all be happy with the surprise guest. I just got to make it work. Okay. Oh, that was fast. All right. Here's the surprise, everyone. This was not planned. So here, let's go here. Nathaniel, friend.
Hold on. Boo, watch this. Hold on. Huh? Oh my god. Dude, what's up, buddy?
How you doing? We got
not good.
like 100.
The field sucks.
We only got like 126. Well, there's probably more than that, but
what's that?
There you are. You already got a welcome.
Well, yeah, the field sucks.
Frequency.
Let's deal with these. Let's deal with these dumbass questions. I'm not ready, man. Hold on, I have to. I just showed up. Yeah, dude. Yeah. So what's up, man? I'm here.
Yeah. So we just covered the Silurian hypothesis, which is basically how do you find technosignatures if there was a civilization?
Awful.
Oh, you just got some lint. You just got some lint. That's all
No,
right.
I have them everywhere, dude. It's awful. Like I
Were you
came here
like
for
near?
you, buddy.
Were you playing with a cat or something, or what?
Well, I do. I rescued a kitten. Y'all can kill me for
So
that, but I rescued a kitten, and every so time he lays on my right shoulder. Um, uh, can we talk about the research, or are we going to deal with this more bullshit, man? I'm tired of this.
we could talk about research, but we don't have a lot of time. We got like 10 minutes.
What's up, really? All right, now all of you people need to understand the fact that 90% of the ufology you guys read and bleed into is false. It's false. Oh my god, this guy. It's false. It's false. It's false. It's false.
Hey, we're Riders
Sean.
DG.
Sean,
Yeah.
my god. Can we do like 20 minutes? You can't have me on here within like you can go close it down. Can't do that to me, bud.
All right. We got 20 minutes.
20 minutes. All right. Anybody who's listening to me, has to understand something. The phenomenon has the understanding. Oh my god. They can create physiological constructs. That's not even the argument. If you guys need to know me, look up myself. I'm tired of this. Sean, can I say the
Yep.
bullshit?
Well, let's keep the language to a minimum if we can.
All right, it's BS. It's
radio.
BS. I know. All right, so I so my point is, I love Sean. I am loyal to my people. I am not loyal to you. You have no idea who I am. You've only found me in about last 2 weeks. So I have people questioning. Well, he better toe the line about demonology. Really? Who's your favorite demonologist? Better not be
Wait,
me.
Who said that? Who said that? Well, actually,
A
don't say names.
bunch,
But
a bunch of
which?
people.
Mm,
A bunch of people. Yeah. Now here's the issue. They don't even know demonology. Because what again, I love you, Sean. I'm trying to be very presidential. The issue is this. I will not be mocked. George Johnny's not my equal. He's not my equal. Look, I know you have an issue. He's not my equal. If you have an issue with demonology, then quote demonologists.
look,
That's man.
somebody. Yeah, there's a sink.
My friend. Yeah, man. Look, man. George Johnny's not a demonologist. I feel offended by people who are who are naturally watch this, who are naturally again, right? Don't even know anything about demonology, don't even believe in religion, but also want to educate me about demonology. Not here for it, Sean. Not here for it, bub. And line his ass up, run him down. So my point is, yeah, you're not going to tell me about who I should believe in if you don't believe in anything, Sean. So my man, Sean, I love you, buddy. I don't have, I have no time for it. This is a time for vulnerability, right, Sean? It's a time for moments, right? I have put all of my chips in, making eye contact with you right now, Sean. Forgive me if I have offended you, but can we go down a road for a fleeting second? Right. So watch this. This man is being mocked by everybody in the world. I am friends with people in Brazil who he thinks he's famous in. They mock him. I am friends with people who are friends with Joe Rogan. They mock him.
Who we talk? Who we? Let's just be careful.
No.
About let's not. It's not good to disparage any. Like it's just not worth it. Not worth it. Redirect, brother. Redirect, brother.
I'm not saying anything about anybody. I'm not saying about it.
Okay. Okay.
Who did I say anything about anything? I didn't say anything about anybody.
Exactly.
Right. Because we know. Right? So my point is, and I am fascinated about the position. You know, I am also entertained about the negligence that comes from people who discourage people from interviewing demonologists. Sean,
Yep.
I am a demonologist.
Uh-oh.
Okay, someone's had a couple. I read her. She's a woman. Spiritual ascension. Yeah, a couple. I wish you would. You know, don't have a couple kittens, guys. Whatever. It's always everybody, dude. Everybody, dude. I had somebody that accused me of being a practitioner. Ridiculous. So I am above being accused. The point is, though, the
Who
issue is this.
don't say the name, but who, like, from what circles did someone accuse it? Like religious circles,
No,
ufological
it was a
circles? What?
pot. No.
Oh,
No, it really
podcasters.
didn't matter. It was a podcaster accused me of being a practitioner, which offended me. It really did offend me. Uh, yeah, and I think I had a couple. Really, a couple what? Two, but a couple books. I wish. No, yeah, it's ridiculous.
No, you're a little slurred, my friend. I'm just giving you
I
direct
don't really
feedback.
care, man. So what I'm tired of is these nonsensical issues. Not really an issue, right? Not really an issue. Um, Here's the real issue. Why is it that I'm finding all of these? Well, go ahead. The point though is it's not really an issue. It's only an issue when people want to say, "Oh, well, there's an issue." There's no issue. Go look at the data. They won't argue the data. They'll argue the argument, which is ridiculous. So my point is that we're not really looking at orbs anymore. We're looking at the issue of how orbs can affect our environment. That's really it.
What does that
Mike,
mean?
oh, it means everything to the field. It means everything to field. So what that means is, oh my God, no, not at all. Alcohol, alcohol, right? That's gin. Um, if I okay, even if I did bring into your life the gin researchers I know and the scholars I know, it wouldn't matter. But I know them. I've talked to them. So that's ridiculous. Gin meat spirits, ridiculous. So my point though is that we're dealing with orbs and Mike Batista even on Area 52, right?
Mm-hmm.
The guy. The guy. Area 52, the issue is that he summoned them, which there's an argument in the field about who conjures them. That's another word, right? Or who summons them. Um, yeah, it's the same thing. Same thing. I'm done with the bullshit. I'm done with it. See, the issue is that the field said, sorry, that was me, Sean. The thing is that the people in the field think that everything's ridiculous, right? That you have nothing to do with the occult, right? You just some no, not at all. Um, what we're dealing with is a misconception, Sean. All of the mystery schools, and I know this because I've talked to them, the mystery schools have collapsed. There are no more mystery schools.
No
There,
Rosicrucians or anything like that. A Golden Dawn.
no. Listen. The phenomenon is reacting to them as if none of it matters. And so it places us in a context where we, as researchers and experiencers, have to understand what's going on. You understand, Sean? All right. So when we have activity regarding balls of light, corpuscular balls of light, okay, all right, balls of light in the wind, and whatever they can project is what we believe in. That's a problem, Sean. That's a huge issue. Because here's the issue. You ready for this? This is what Steve and I have been talking about. 99% of religiosity is programmed by what we see. Right, Sean? What we see. Not what we've experienced, right? Not what we've tested, nothing. It's what we see. The issue is that everybody's listening here right now, right? Y'all are like, well, I'm interested, but you're not really in tune. You're not really doing investigations. Same issues I have with pastors. I have pastors call me every night. I have pastors' wives. I will show you. Sean, you know that. I've sent the screenshots. Nathaniel, what's up, bud? Chris Miner. Look, man, we have to make a decision. We cannot lie. We have pastors and priests in the Old Testament leaning on the time the sun shone on their chest. So here's the issue. What do you want from me? Sean, am I... Look, man. They're going to kill me. That's okay.
Why would I
Give me a
do
question.
that? Oh, you're a question. All right. What is the state of disclosure right now? What's going on?
What? You think Donald Trump is going to give you disclosure? Here's disclosure. He's making... No. About ufology? Absolutely not. Are you happy, Nathaniel? I am the happiest I've ever been. I am the leading demonologist of the world. And I don't even believe in demonology. I don't even believe in demonology, and I'm the number one. So no, that's a joke, by the way. Absolutely not. I think that the church needs to grow up. You need to read. I have people that follow me every day. I have pastors' wives and pastors follow me. You guys got to grow outside of Timothy Alberino. You got to grow outside. You cannot possibly account for reports. All right, but listen to this, Sean. All right. Sean, I'm here for you, buddy. Not for me, man. Go ahead. Give me another question.
All right. I'm here for you too, buddy.
Hit me hard.
So,
hit me hard, dude. Hit me hard.
What do you think the government does know?
Oh, it's ridiculous. Ridiculous. The issue is this. In 1952, Nick Redfern, right? I love Nick Redfern. I'm a fan of Nick Redfern. I've met Nick Redfern. I would buy his. All right. Now, if you guys really want to know, Nick Redfern is one of those guys, man. I met him. I was like maybe It's been about 10 years ago when I was with my ex. But I met him. He's a very strong guy, not really intellectually dumb. Nobody. Oh my god, whatever, man. Shit. Somebody
Yeah,
called me here.
actually,
So
here's a question for you. This is a good question. Has anyone anyone thing leaning on you or otherwise trying to disrupt your trajectory?
absolutely, yeah, I've been threatened. Threatened. Um, it hurts more than I would talk about. If you want to know context, go look up Art Bell. When somebody gave him, and I'm not saying I did this, but Art Bell was given yeah, he was threatened.
What
You know
I
what?
mean, who or what threatened you?
It's a phenomenon. See, these people are pacifists. They are activists. They have an interest. That's it. They don't want to do what I do. They'd rather comment some, oh, well, really? No, they don't want to do it. They don't want to do it. So the real research being done now is not about the age of disclosure, Sean. It's never been about that. It's about the
Oh
control
yeah,
of reality.
that's
Can we
pure
can we
narrative
just
control.
nail that to a wall? Can we nail that
That's
to the
pure
wall?
narrative control.
Because right, I
Yeah, it's
had
pure
people.
narrative
Well,
control. Yeah, there's no doubt
he's
about it.
drunk. No,
Yeah.
I'm not drunk, dude. No, I'm
A
sober
little,
as sober
a
as
little
you
bit.
be.
No,
My issue is this, man. My issue is this, man. I'm getting tired of people who have no qualifications. Oh, it's not tonight. Appreciate it, RJ, whatever, man.
but they're trying like they care about you, brother. I care about you too. So
That's
I
fine.
wouldn't say any of this that I didn't care about you. So
No, well, my issue is this. Everybody can kill me. I'm going to get creamed tomorrow. I swear to God. My issue is this.
you might not remember this tomorrow. That's what I'm worried about.
That is ridiculous, John. That's ridiculous. My
By
issue
the
is
way,
this.
thank you, TJF Russo, for the super sticker. Much appreciated. Yeah. So Mermaid Moxie raises a
Absolutely.
good point. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're over the
That's
target, buddy.
ridiculous. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Sean, my consumption. What is my consumption, Sally Forth alone? Name it. If you can't name it, then how can I be honest? Seems like we're at a war. My point, though, is it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. My point, though, is there's an issue here. There's an issue even within spirituality because I have a book behind me that is all about, right, research and it's Esther Moore's work, and nah, you keep putting up there. My thing is this. My issue is this. We have Giorgiani.
Don't answer that
Say,
question. Don't answer that question. Don't answer that question.
oh no, what the hell is going on? I like Giorgiani. Giorgiani, look, guys, man. Giorgiani is a great guy. I again, man. Plenty of people. I mean, people that you don't even know are in touch with Giorgiani, and Giorgiani is look. They want everybody's wanting to have me and Giorgiani go debate. Why? I don't know. My issue is this, guys. My issue is this. Okay, you can make fun of me all you want to and diagnose me. This is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. My issue, though, is that we have no context to the phenomenon. We only have writings. right? Nah, man. This place is nah, man. So my issue is this: we only have writings, right? Um,
Hmm.
we only have writings, and so if we were going to have a debate, which we will never will, because if I did have a debate with him, it would be an argument about language and about his theory of time travel. So I whatever. My issue though is I'm getting tired of people mocking me. It's ridiculous.
Who's mocking you?
Oh, just people on Twitter.
Oh, okay. All right.
It really doesn't matter.
In
No,
the
it really,
chat,
no, no.
they're not they're just trying to help you. They're not trying to mock you. But
All
Twitter,
right.
sure.
Put that up. Though. I saw that. Though that's a great. Hold on, man. That's a great question. Um,
Oh, well,
yeah,
like
it would.
for
It would. It would. It would. It would.
yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
would.
would love that. It would. Now, here's the issue. Okay, you guys ready for the truth? I have people in Brazil who follow his work, and they love Giorgiani. The issue is Giorgiani. He's intellectual, right?
Look, I can
See,
probably make it happen. I just
no, no, no.
I
We will die in language, and then we'll see how
you know.
much he can color. It'll be it, man. I
It would
have
be it would
okay.
be it would be like an orthogonal debate. You would be going this direction, and he would be going this direction, and
No,
it would
no, no,
be
no,
like
no.
it would
It'll
be just
be yeah. Well, it would be interesting. I would love that. I
it
think
would be
that
interesting. I can't. It would be so interesting. I can't even predict what it would be like.
well, I could tell you what I have heard. Okay, um, which we can this. Um, it's ridiculous because I'm a man of data. I grew up in as a man of theory, right? I'm a man of data, and
There you go.
I in
That's a
my
good one for you.
that's cute, man. I love it. I don't play around with these guys. Um, I grew up literally. I grew up dealing with just people who had thoughts. And I've watched these idiots get on huge channels, right? It's Steve, it's Steve Mayer, my buddy, my dear friend. The issue is this: um, YouTube doesn't they don't really behave right because I did shows with Polarity, great show, great
Hmm.
show. Coach Colin, great show. But what I realized was there's a lot of dumbasses out there, like a really like a team, like they just dap it up, like and I'm not for it. Not for it. That's why I don't go to conferences. They try to pay me. Look, man, I can go to get a beer by myself, man. I don't need money. Uh, tired of being lied to. If you really want to understand something, look up Kelly Chase. Other than that, I'm done, man. See, the issue was this: all of you people watching me aren't me. Y'all want to know. I know there are problems with the model of the phenomenon, and those problems determine your worldview. And I'm tired of it. Honestly, look, man, one of my heroes just retired today. I told you, Sean. They retired today because they're
Yeah.
tired of the phenomenon. Not because of you guys. This is a podcast. They're tired. So I'm still here. I'm ready, man. I'm a demonologist. I am. I think that anybody has an issue with demonology, come find me. You know where to find me. I think that No, man, I think ridiculous. They don't even know demonology. So y'all can accuse me of being everything you want me to be. Not really, man. My dude, I'm here for my dude, man. So y'all can kill me if you want. I really don't care.
I still haven't done that yet. Somebody says I'm not going to. Who knows what YouTube will say to this comment? But I'll go get a BEER with. Yeah, of course.
Oh my god, I really don't care, bro. I got people, dude. I did a what? Oh, the thing was the greatest. I'm not the greatest. I'm the available. And a lot of you guys don't even know what demonology is. So whatever it is, man.
I'm just
What it
going.
is, bro.
All right, Gray Owl's got a question. So, does demonology assert that all hypothesized alien or otherwise variants are but different iterations of a league of demons?
Switch it back, dude. You just clicked. Now, first of all, Gray Owl, who is your favorite demonologist? Let's start from there. Can we? Because I have a lot of demonologists that I know personally, and they have no favorite demonologist because they're not really demonologists, right? My favorite demonologist is Bernard. You wouldn't know him. Bernard of Gore. So Bernard of Gordon, actually. So the issue with demonology, and I'm having this. Can I just rant, Sean? The issue with demonology is that you guys are focused on form and on function. That's why you guys love Alberino. Like, oh, he gave a no. Read a book. Can you read a book? Can you read a book? I got T. Whitten Davies over here that would destroy Alberino, but because again, we have people who are like, well, that's kind of cute. Oh God, is it? Is kind of cute? No, it's not. Nobody I know in the field respects Alberino. The issue is that you
Hey,
don't know anything.
remember what we said. Remember we said let's not
Right.
earned or otherwise. Let's not disparage. You know, you might not remember the disparagement. You might to wake up to
I
something
will
that's
wake up. It's ridiculous. No, I got people. Nathaniel Gillis. Like,
who's that?
oh.
Renee.
Uh,
Come on.
all right, Regato. No, all right. So again, because listen, man, he is yeah, man. So this guy is amazing. Yeah, so Rene Gonan. Okay, so I am friends with people in Brazil, and that's the issue again. Uh, I know it. Spiritual ascension. I love you. Listen, I love you guys. My issue though is that again, I look, man. I've had it's about about a month now that oh my god, it's ridiculous, Sean. It's ridiculous. I feel like I'm in like you know United Kingdom. I feel like I'm in like the Disney Channel or something. It's like, oh, that's cute. But yeah, Renee Godon. So I am friends with a group of researchers. I just had a phone call with them and Steve Merritt. They're in Brazil, and Rene Godon. Rene Godon is a fascinating guy. The problem is we have to make his theories known. Doctor, no drugging. Um, but Doctor, Rene Godon, he's a much better, interesting guy. I think that we need to understand this. Now, the issue, and I'm going to tell you this straight up. People, but oh, he's drunk. No, I'm not drunk. Listen to me. You need to read. The issue is the fact that this 99% of the Bible is doing what they're doing now. Okay, so all right, yeah. So the issue with Aleister Crowley, the issue is this. Okay, the problem is that the phenomenon doesn't care. The phenomenon no longer cares. If the phenomenon triggers you, you have to respond, and you have to look at everything. So that's any other question?
Yeah. Um, can you say more about the person that retired, or is that still private?
Well, the issue is this. I am gift. Well, yeah, man. So I have contacts with people in the UK. Okay, and the United Kingdom has a different version of ufology that we do, and I learned that. Right, I learned that by experience. I was in the hotel room. I'm like, oh my god, right? Well, oh my god, what's happening? Um, so the issue is this: if they're demons, sure, we have to explain how they're creating matter or recreating matter, right? And if they're not, we have to explain why they would respond to altars. So, in between this model, this cute, tight model, right, we have to explain why. And even then, right, we have to go even deeper and explain why it is that they use our own species against us, Sean, right? I am your husband. That's Dr. Collerton's word.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that they are willing to use us against us? That's ridiculous. If that was not a predator, then we have to make room for another category. So I'm done with that. I'm done with that. I know Alan Greenfield's work. I'm done with it. I'm done with all this. We're gonna pin around and just have a no, man. It's ridiculous. The issue is this: Christians are as clueless as everybody else, but all right, give me some questions. I'm gonna be killed, dude. I know it. I'm only
All
doing
right,
this
let's
for you,
see.
Sean. I'm only doing this for you.
Let's see. All right. So, what is this species of practitioner? The human, the non-human? What are they? The dead?
I'm looking at no. See, if you go back into biblical antiquity, it was that the species of the soul is a different species than the body it inhabits. So you can have an avatar, and the species in it is different. So one theory, Sean, is that in abduction accounts, they abduct the species within, right? And sometimes this is going to be controversial. Whatever, man. Everybody hates me. I don't care. I don't need you to care.
Read
The
read the next
issue,
comment. Read the next comment. That's not a hateful comment.
of course, yeah. Steve, man, Steve's the best, dude. He's written 4 episodes of the X Files, so whatever. Watch this. So watch this, okay? Go think, think Bob Lazar, right? Think Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar is he's kind of a geek, right? Yeah, whatever. Hey, man, Bob Lazar says that they use us as containers. That's kind of cute. Whatever. But in ufology and abduction literature, there's a problem because it's either our bodies or their souls, or their souls in our bodies, right, Sean? And then somewhere in the literature, the lore, give me John Keel, Jacques Vallée, right? Bud Hopkins. There's an issue because we don't determine, see this? Who's there and who's not. The phenomenon does. The phenomenon says, boop. And so we, Betty Luca, I'm going to give you more text if you want, if you guys are really interested, where the phenomenon treated us, like avatars. And we were told, you're not going to believe this. You're not even going to remember. Why? Because we were not the ones treated. They were. They were. Again, Bob Lazar. We're avatars. And so then we have to deal with the theory that we are merely avatars of another species. Which, if you do that, now you're going to have to deal with possession, Sean. Right? We good, bub?
Yep. So I think someone may have brought this up before, but we are energy farms. Is that correct?
No. See, the issue is this again. You guys have to get out of the mode of John Lear. No. John Lear was not a friend of Art Bell. Not. That came from John Lear. Parasitical forms of consciousness, I feel unbelievable. The issue is this. Okay, we know that's true. What now? We know they have altars. That's what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing. You think Bledsoe's any different? No, he's not any different. Look, Pasuka said, right? Pasuka said, look, and I have contacts that told him, like, you're not the only one. Like, they're gonna sell you some lies. No. Yes, they want altars, they want to be worshipped. Sean. I mean, they're killing it or murdering it, so
all right, there's another one back here. The question. Do you think they have been creating bloodline avatars?
Yes. This is necronetics. This is called necronetics. It's a field that I created. But you have to, even if you believe in that, you have to believe that there are Nephilim, that's the worst research being done right now. I think it's hilarious. Well, they're Nephilim. Really? Bring that scholarship right now. It's the laziest, dumbest scholarship being done in the field. Sean, T. Whitten did. If anybody read an academic paper, no. Also, we need to understand what possession is to us. Because what possession is to us is not what possession is to them. They first possessed statues. And they slowly molded through 3,000, molded people in their image. So hybrids are not hybrids. If you want to ask me, all right, fine. Look up my conversation with Steve Mera. Hybrids do not exist. Hybridism has been hijacked by ufology. And then, here's why. Because they want to build altars to aliens. Sorry, bud. Good. Anything else?
So what's next? What's the end game?
I think that they're already here.
But what's the ultimate goal for them?
Control. Absolute control.
And vis-a-vis that purpose, where are they now? In terms of what stage are they in?
Um, if somebody put a gun to my head, Sean, they've been here for thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
They've been in bloodlines. See, hybridism, again, hybridism, according to ufology, is splicing. No, that's bullshit. Hybridism is possessing an avatar. That's it. You know, the other day, Steve and I were talking, and Steve was like, he's dealing with the same issue. He's like, well, the question is, why wouldn't they just take us over, right, Sean? Why wouldn't they just take us over? Why wouldn't they land on the White House lawn? They don't have to, but they don't have to. So that's all that happened. Any more questions before I get crucified? Build me a cross, Sean. They're
The
gonna kill
wheat
me.
and tares, are they two different species of human?
This is a biblical narrative. I would ask you who's your favorite scholar before you, and I would ask you to message me. Um, yeah. So now, man, there's a lot of people that follow me, and I probably destroyed their worldview. Terrafim. Chris Miner, can I answer that?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, terrafim and terraform is not the same. What do we do now is absolutely the question. It almost seems like it's gone too far, and they're always. All right, so here's the issue. There is a delay. There is a delay. Steve and I are working on the delay. We're testing them. We are, Chris Miner. The only thing that we can do, and I'm telling you from straight up me, is the only thing I can do is stay alive enough, right, to have these conversations like I'm having with you. Stay alive. Stay alive. And any kind of research we do, we don't tell anybody about it. So this for everybody who's watching, this you guys are getting a treat. Any other questions?
This one.
No, absolutely not. So the sigils, and here's the issue. Okay, people. Well, you have to be part of the cult. No. This is the conversation Steve and I are having. When the phenomenon wants you, they get you. They get you. I've had cases where it's at least discernible, right? Where I've had cases where the husband or the wife, rather, argue with the husband, and I had to literally sign an NDA. I love you, spiritual dissension. Look, man, and it's usually an occult connection. Uh, what I can say is this: the research I'm going to be bringing out soon. There's absolutely no reason why it should not be demonic. The occultists I'm speaking to know this. So we're not arguing, right, about the origin. We're arguing about the terms. It's just ridiculous, man. So I'm at the point now where it's like, okay, like you're gonna bring up Ashtar, bring it up. You know, It- that's where I'm at, and I can destroy that argument. And what I'm really questioning is how can they be that stupid, Sean? Right? How can they be that dumb? Not these people, the phenomenon, right? How can they
Mm-hmm.
be that stupid to use that name? and not expect us to sniff it out. That's really where I'm at. But
You mean Ashtar Command?
of course.
Explain how that's demonic. I mean, I know the explanation, but it's more interesting coming from you.
It's the beard, but it has to be the beard. Well, of course.
It's
Alan
the Irish.
Greenfield.
It's the Irish.
Yeah. I'm tired of it, man. I swear to God, I'm not gonna do any more shows. I'm done with this, man. I get a lot of people who, ooh, dude. So watch this. Alan Greenfield's a cultist, and he even has articulated how that Ashtari.
Thank you, Chris Miner, by the way. Appreciate you.
What's up, Chris? Love you, buddy. I just hopped in, man. I'm so tired of this. I only do this because I love Sean. I really don't care anybody else. Whatever, man. Well, dude, like, okay, so Alan Greenfield, Sean, it's like, oh well, yeah, it's Ashtar. No, it's not. It's Ashtaroth. And Ashtaroth is a demon. Now watch this. Even Alan Greenfield, I watched the interview, was like, well, I don't want to mention. He said this literally, Sean. I'm not wanting to prescribe a demonological invocation. Why won't you? Because it's an ancient deity. So when we know that, it's kind of obvious, but it's almost too obvious, Sean. Almost too obvious. Because, at least in my research, it's like, okay, well, that's too obvious. But what if it was? What if all this stuff was simple, Bob, right? And I'm not one to well, people have cursed me out already, so I have to go.
Well, if it's demons, that implies there's angels too, right?
Yes. Now, thanks you, Spider Brain. I'm just being here for my buddy Sean, man. I love you guys. The issue, though, the real fine-tuned issue is form is not function, right? And so when you get into the Ashtar command, see, again, that's ancient deity. That shouldn't be in anywhere in Jason Sand's mind or in Jolly's. But the problem is, Sean, it is. And we have people who have, right, watch this. You got to blow your mind. Okay. The goal of this is to deceive. Now, watch this. Why did they pick Michael Heiser, Sean? Hey, Sean, it'd be like, hey, Sean, what do you think about Iranian nuclear research? They would not do it to you, buddy, right? They would not. Why? Because they would know instantaneously. And so what I have to deal with as a demonologist, the fact that nobody really knows demonology. Like, they don't know it. They don't research it. I mean, man. Love buddy. I know you're killing me. I apologize.
You don't need to apologize. It's always good to see you, my friend. Always. You need to take care of yourself, all right? So you're around many more years.
So no, dude. No, I am tired of this, man. Tired of it. Like, come on, man. And
are they going after you on Twitter for what? Don't say who, but like, what kind of stuff are they saying about you on Twitter that's bothering you? Nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I provided a niche field for them to indulge in, but I'll tell you what I'm getting tired of. Can I say that? A lot of people who don't even know demonology.
Who
And
purport to know it.
yeah, most of those are Christians. Bunch of people, highbrow, can't shave their eyebrows. Swear to God, they're transgender. I don't care, Sean. I'm here for the data bubble. So, y'all can kill me.
They want you to come to Australia, brother.
I really don't care, man. Love you, buddy.
All right, brother. Love you too. Talk soon, all right? All right. How'd I do? Oh, man. I was just trying to keep him out of dangerous waters. I don't know if I succeeded, but yeah. Uh yeah. So Chris Minor official, the Babylonian Mesopotamian goddess demonic type stuff is everywhere lately, it seems. Dark occult is essentially runs. Yeah, in fact, when Steve Mera and folks started getting into Sumerian and Babylonian demonology, they started getting like attacked by the phenomena. I think Steve Mera has said so in this show. There, like as he's sleeping, he woke up and there were like arms around him, like coming from behind him, like through the bed or whatever. And yeah, anytime they start studying that stuff, like weird, like really negative stuff starts happening. Let's see. Yeah, thank you, Mermaid. Yeah, I. All right, I'm just going through these as fast as I can. Thank you, Nixie. I was a little worried about him when he came on. I was a little so I'll talk. I'll. I tried to give him a few outs. I mean, I think it was fine. I don't think he did anything that he's going to regret, which is good. Yeah, I know. That's why I was. And thank you, folks, for pointing it out so I could provide him with feedback without, you know. Yeah. Yeah, I could probably look into it. I think I can get Nathaniel to do it. I just have to ask Georgiani. Anyway, we're like 44 minutes over, folks. So just have a great rest of your weekend. Thank you so much for staying this long. I mean, there are more people now. I think we're at like the peak in terms of number of people on the pod. So for this for this show. So I appreciate you and God bless and have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Thank you again. Cheers, everyone. And thank you for all the likes. Talk soon. Oh, and this week is the regular live stream on just my channel, not the radio live stream, the smaller, more intimate one that we typically do. It's already up. But yeah, I know. People were worried about the I wanted to protect my friend, so I just did the best I could. So have a great weekend, everybody. I'm trying to get off, but there's so many comments. So love you all. Peace in the Middle East, Middle East, and have a fantastic rest of your weekend. Thank you, everyone.